for this meeting of the Open Space and Recreation Committee. We'll begin with a roll call of the committee members to make sure everyone who is here can hear and be heard. Travis Mast.
I'm here.
Stephen Crowley.
Here.
Anne Marie Foley.
Here.
Shannon Phelan.
Here.
And David Robbins is here. Elizabeth said that she would not be able to attend tonight. I didn't hear one way or another from Trevor. So I think we are all here that I expect to be here. And we have a fairly brief agenda tonight. It's mostly just status updates on things we've been doing. There's really not a lot to report. The first topic is the open space inventory, which we have been kind of largely have been maintaining in hopes of not having to redo it from scratch when we update the open space and rec plan in a couple of years. But anyway, what's been happening on the open space inventory is sort of the most notable thing that I've been working on with Fiona and with the state. Is aligning our open space inventory with what the state GIS maintains a list of protected and recreational areas. So it's basically, that includes any, open space that is protected temporarily or permanently, largely conservation land, but not just that. Recreational lands, which, on that they include things like the golf course. They don't they don't include other things that we have in our own inventory, which is town-owned land that's not protected, which is chapter land. They don't include that in their inventory. But for the parcels that are or should be in their list as well as ours, I've been working through Fiona with the state to match up the lists, and their list was seriously out of date. They did a major update earlier this year, and I've been reviewing that, and I have some more updates to send to them. In the process of reviewing that, I've also found some adjustments or updates that need to be made to our own open space inventory. Not a lot that's major there, but just to let you know, that's sort of, we've been working on that. The regular annual update I do to the inventory based on updates to the assessor data and any new land acquisitions the town has made. I'll be working on that over the next month or two. The town's assessor data latest data was just uploaded to the state. I haven't downloaded that yet, but that's sort of what's been happening. I think it's been fairly significant to me to get the state's data and our own data aligned, so to make sure everything they have is up to date and that everything we have is consistent with what they have. So that's been happening. And I think I've mentioned this before in the context of the open space inventory data, is that eventually Fiona would like to be able to manage that within her office rather than relying on me to manage it, but we're not there yet. And partly because that's the data that I have is really, it's in a form that probably no one else could easily work with. I'm working on trying to improve upon that. But anyway, that's our longer term objective, is to have that, sort of, it's kind of fits within the domain of the Open Space and Rec Committee here, but ultimately we'd like to have that overseen by Town Hall. So any questions or thoughts on that? If not, the other major topic is protection for unprotected open space. At our last meeting back in July, the committee wanted to request that the 27 Milford Road parcels be put under Conservation Commission protection, and that the High Point open space, whenever that does get accepted by the town, is also put under conservation. So to take the second one first, High Point has not yet reached that point. I was kind of hoping that they would have their other issues resolved to the point where the fall town meeting would be a time for the town to accept the roadways and the open space, but that's still to happen at some point in the future. They're still dealing with questions about an old shed that is on their property, and they haven't resolved apparently what to do with that. But better news on the 27 Milford Road parcels. It is on the fall town meeting warrant to have both of those parcels placed under control of the Conservation Commission. The select board had discussed it at the last couple of meetings. Anne Marie, could enlighten us more if she has anything she wants to add as far as what the select board has did. But the select board did agree that that was appropriate. There were some questions about whether there were other potential uses for the land. I believe those were resolved to the board's satisfaction. So it's definitely on the town meeting warrant. Anything you'd like to add about that, Anne Marie?
No, it took us 2 meetings because one member did have some specific questions, and between Dave and Evan, they did some digging, and the questions were answered to his satisfaction. So yeah, it's the board approved it 5-0, and it is on the warrant. And I suggest, having folks encourage people to come out to vote in support of that.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds like it may be a fairly brief town meeting. There's only 12 articles on the warrant. Sort of unusual, but I'm not gonna complain about that. And on that topic of protecting space that is open space that is not currently protected, we did have, I think there were a list of 3 or 4 other parcels that we also thought we should move forward on. We haven't yet. I think we didn't quite formally take a vote. I know I did send information on 3 or 4, whatever it was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I did forward information on that to Fiona with the intent of having her staff look into these, look into the history of those a little bit more to see if there's any more information available about the current status of those parcels, or how they came to be. No further action has been taken on those yet. But I do plan to. Fiona's kind of tied up right now, but as soon as she has a little bit more time available in her office, I would like to press forward on those additional parcels that we had identified. And I think that for our next meeting, we'll probably want to revisit the list of parcels that are not currently protected, but maybe should be, and make some more definite recommendations on those. I've run across a few that appear to be permanently protected, but may deserve some action, such as a town meeting vote, to more definitively place it. I had an exchange of information with town council about some, uncertainty about the protection status, and particularly when it comes to having parcels protected under Article 97, which makes it very difficult to repurpose them away from a conservation or open space purpose. There is some ambiguity that we may want to resolve. I want to get some further reading from town council. But I also have, related to that, a question that maybe Travis can have the Conservation Commission consider. And that is, we have maybe 30 or so parcels of land that are currently explicitly under control of the Conservation Commission. We have some others that are open space, either definitely or probably protected, but are not currently designated as being controlled by the Concom. So a question that I'd like to have the Conservation Commission consider is, does the Conservation Commission want to be designated as being in control of essentially all of our protected open space? And I don't know whether there's a burden on the Conservation Commission, any of them not to be designated as being the controlling party for that land. But Travis, between you and the Conservation Commission and the conservation staff, it would be worth knowing what the Concom's appetite is for being named as being in control of essentially all of our protected open space.
Yeah, I can have Leah put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yep.
I think like just the initial reaction would be, yeah, we would, but there are like the reality of that. Is it feasible? And that's a question for Leah to discuss with the Concom. The alternative would be the land trust, or
yeah. Well, there's a couple of alternatives. One is, if it's not Conservation Commission control, the land trust. I mean, they're certainly the land trust is in control of land that they own. The land trust also gets conservation restrictions for some town-owned land, and so it's not quite sure if you'd call that land trust control, but there is a relationship there. But the other possibility is that
the management responsibilities.
Yeah, the other alternative is that the land be designated by deed or town meeting vote as being reserved strictly for conservation or open space purposes, but managed by the town, generally essentially managed under the authority or control of the select board. But that it's still, even with select board management, the land can be permanently protected if it is so designated by either deed or town meeting vote. And that's currently the case for some parcels of land in town.
Do you know how many there are that we may take on?
I don't know off the top of my head. I did not think to look that up before this meeting.
I don't know if there'd be a threshold for us, honestly, but
yeah. So I guess really the question for Concom is there any reason that Concom would not want to be designated the manager of some of the land?
I don't think so, but yeah, I'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. And then I think it also just requires Concom to talk more about like the management of these properties and make sure that we have a vision and a plan to take care of them.
Yeah, it may well be that no active management is required,
right?
Which may depend in part upon whether there's anything on, like trails would be sort of the first thing that comes to my mind. If there are trails on the land, then trails generally would require some degree of active management to maintain the trails. But other than that, I guess it would be good. And so I'll plan on our next meeting, which maybe we'll do one. Well, it's already October, so we could think about one for either November or December, so for our next meeting, I'll plan on making that a topic of both, further consideration of lands we've already identified as we want to get more protected lands that may or may not be considered for conservation.
Okay.
I should have thought to prepare a list of those, but also my list is probably going to change slightly, depending on the final outcome of the revisions I'm making to the open space inventory. Because I think I may have found, and again I don't have that in front of me, I may have found some land that is not as protected as I thought it was, or land that is or should be more protected than I thought it was. So based on, and I should have that, all of that wrapped up within a month or so on the alignment with the state and
Okay.
and the latest latest updates to our own inventory. So if I get that all lined up, like I said, I should have that done in a month or so. But so maybe, hopefully for our next meeting, whenever it is, we can review the current status of all of our open space, protected and unprotected properties, and see where we want to go from there. But at least, yay, we expect to be successful at protecting 2 big parcels of unprotected open space in your neighborhood, Stephen.
Very nice.
So it seems like we've been working on that for a long time.
I don't think anybody was looking for it, so it wasn't a real a need, an emergency, anything like that.
This is true. I mean, that land has been sitting there existing as open space,
Yeah,
for decades. And no one has really, I mean, when it's sort of sitting there being open space, even though it's not protected, it's not something that's crying out for a change.
no, nor it's not easily accessible for any other use than recreation, which is I've walked those paths for years, and I never even thought about it losing it. I never thought about losing it.
Yep. Anne Marie.
Let me just do this first. Yeah, so I just wondered if maybe for our next meeting, I was reading the meeting minutes from the first set of meeting minutes, which was before I was back on the committee, put it that way. And you guys had, in fact, in those minutes that we're approving this evening, identified at least 4 properties. One of them I know on Institute, and then there were maybe 2 or 3 others that are in those minutes. Like, could we put those few on our next agenda, or maybe a couple of them, to kind of start the same process?
Yes, that is exactly what I had in mind.
Okay.
Part of what I had in mind anyway was, yes, to follow up on those that we had already talked about, and then maybe we'll identify some additional ones that we want to push forward on. Okay, so that's where we're at with that right now, and we'll do more on that topic at our next meeting. Anything else and anybody wants to discuss on that topic? If not, we have our final agenda item is the approval of the previous meeting minutes, of which we have minutes for the previous 2 meetings.
Yeah, do you have the dates on those handy? I was just trying to look.
I have I can make the first one is February 12th, 2025. I will vote for
If I had both the dates, we could just do it together probably. So was the other one
February 12th.
Yep.
2025 and July 16th, 2025.
Right. I move that we approve the minutes as sent to us in draft form of February the 12th, 2025 and 7/16 of 2025.
Second.
Do I hear a second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? When I read through those minutes, I did not see anything that I thought needed changing. So, any other discussion?
No.
If not,
Look good.
what?
You're good.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're all good. So we'll call for a vote then. Anne Marie,
Fully aye.
Stephen,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Shannon,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. The minutes are improved. As far as scheduling our next meeting is concerned, would you guys want to meet again in around the middle of November or early December? I think at our July meeting, we kind of thought, well, we maybe don't need to be meeting every month. So if we go to at least for now, looking at every 2 months, then that would put us into early December.
I would love to meet a little bit more frequently, like every month, just because I do think it's important to keep moving on some of those parcels. Like even though 27 Milford, even though had just been sitting there for years and years, it was kind of scary to see that it might have been the subject of like a feasibility study. So
Yeah.
I think I would love to meet monthly. That's my recommendation.
Okay.
Can we meet the week before this Thanksgiving week?
Yeah, so
November.
that's like 6 weeks ish, kind
Yeah.
of meet in the middle. Yep.
Yeah, so let's see, November, we'd be looking at maybe the 12th or the 19th. I think I've got something else that may have to be the 12th. So November 19th. It's the week before Thanksgiving.
I could do the 19th. I don't think I can do the 12th.
That's
Fine.
good. 'Cause I don't think I can do the
works
12th.
for me. Yep.
Same here. I'm available.
All right, so we will plan on meeting again November 19th, and we'll pick up on our continued work towards securing firmer protection for some of our land.
Right.
Great. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved and seconded that this meeting be adjourned. Anne, Mary,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Stephen,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
and Dave votes yes. Motion carried unanimous. We are adjourned.